Like love and marriage, a horse and carriage, Micheal Jordaan, synonymous with banking from his days at First National Bank when he was chief executive. Since then, he's been a trailblazer in the world of investing and investing in online wine retailer port to port. His passion for disruptive business models, backing renewable energy company BrightBlack. It specialises in design, implementation and operation of solar projects. He's also a shareholder in Wireless Business Solutions alongside his former first-round chief executive colleague Paul Harris. He's been a busy guy, and in the meantime, in his spare time, he makes wine and probably drinks a bit of it as well. This is the MoneyMakers. I'm Bruce Whitfield. Tonight, I'm joined by Micheal Jordaan, head of Montegray Capital, about energy, wine and spectrum. I'm hoping you haven't yet brought 5G to South Africa, Micheal Jordaan. I'm hoping the 3 or the 4G signal we've got this evening holds out.
Well, I'm fortunate to be on fibre, Bruce, and thank you for having me.
Well, good. We'll see whether the fibre holds up. But, I mean, you are being dead serious about taking South Africa beyond the 21st century as we know it in terms of internet access.
We are indeed. It's a very, very exciting technology. I've got to say that it doesn't fully exist yet. So 5G as a standard will probably only be formalized closer to 2018 or 2019. So what we are launching early next year is probably better described as 4.5G. Or if you want to get technical, it's LTE Advanced Pro. But that is the precursor to 5G. And essentially what it means is a lot more data and a lot faster. Data all over the world is exploding. It's allowing a whole lot of new businesses to form, which I'm very interested in, all the startups that are enabled by data. But it also allows us to enjoy ourselves, to watch video, for example. And it's very positive for things like education in the country. And there are lots of indications that show that the greater your broadband penetration in a country, the higher the economic growth. And that is something that we as South Africa truly need.
I mean, this is a big job. I mean, it's going to be massively complicated to roll out. You've got the backbone, of course, as provided by the company that you bought. But the technology is new. The technology is yet to be tested, the 5G anyway. When you come to market with 4.5G, you're going up against Telkom, Vodacom, MTN, Cell C, and everybody else who's got a data pipe.
Bruce, you're quite right. And those are formidable competitors. And we respect them greatly. It's not going to be an easy task, particularly because scale is such an important thing in many businesses, but particularly in the telco industry. And it will take us time to roll out. But having said all of that, we do back ourselves. We've got an entrepreneurial team at the helm of the company. We'll still come up with an exciting new brand next year for it. And by embracing the new technology, by going where the puck is going as opposed to where it has been, we do think that we are in for a fighting chance. And partly what gives us that conviction is just that the demand for data is exploding. It's exploding all over the world. And when I say exploding, it's 50, 60, 70% more every single year. And if we can make that much more affordable, and we think there's lots of room to do that in South Africa, and also make the pricing more simple. We find the telco pricing quite complex and many, many packages. So we want to hit the market with something that's affordable, that's simple and faster. And then we think we're in with a fighting chance.
All those years in banking and trying to make bank charges understandable might just pay off, Michael.
Yes, Bruce, we did try. But I have to say that's maybe one of the other industries that later on I'd love to have a go at, because I think there's a lot more that can be done with new technology. You see, nearly so many fields now are still subject to this age-old Moore's law. Moore was one of the founders of Intel, who suddenly observed that all his chips were doubling in capacity every 18 months or so. And subsequently, what we've seen is that many other technologies have similar features. They double in capacity every 18 months or 24 years. So I'm seeing lots of businesses being started all over, telcos, banks, and many others that start off with a very, very low cost base. And I think what you're going to see in the next 10 years is many incumbents fighting against these young upstarts. The upstarts don't have brands and customers yet, but they have the benefit of new technology and a very low cost base. And the exciting thing is that this is just going to be good for consumers worldwide. And I hope to play a small role in bringing that also to for some businesses for consumers in South Africa.
I mean, the opportunity of a combination of broadband, of blockchain technology, those are true disruptors. I remember in your days at FNB, you would talk about how you saw the biggest threat not necessarily from the bank down the road, while you respected them, and that was good, but you saw the threat from the likes of the telecommunications players and the Googles of the world, and that still holds true.
You remember quite well, Bruce. It was also a very interesting rally call. You know, when you're a huge organization, you're an incumbent, you do have certain legacy technologies. I think it's better for you to not just look at your existing competitors, but at what the future competitors are going to be and what their benefits are. And it changes the way that you behave inside a company.
I mean, in the same way as you want... Sorry, Michael, in the same way as you want to use technology to disrupt the world of broadband and of internet access, energy is such an interesting market as well. And we see considerable pushback, apparently, by Eskom against renewables. And that's a space into which you've invested now as well. And in the medium-term budget policy statement recently, the finance minister handing the hospital pass of nuclear to Eskom and saying, if you wanted that much, do it on your own balance sheet. What's your thinking around what's happening in the energy sector?
Right, Bruce. I love green stuff, and I think we all do, and we want to have less carbon emissions, and we want to create a better world for our kids. But the reason I like solar is not because it's green. It so happens to be green, but what's been happening in solar is a massive price collapse. You know, when I left school and looked at the price of solar then and where I am now, so that was in the mid-80s, it's come down by more than 90%. And it is still coming down. I spoke about Moore's Law earlier, about certain technologies that are doubling every now and then. In solar, what happens is that every time the production of solar doubles, the cost comes down a further 26%. Right now, 500,000 solar panels are installed every single day somewhere in the world. And production, global solar production, is only about 2% of energy usage. So that 2% is going to become 4 and then 8 and then 16. And every single time it doubles, the cost is going to come down another 26%. So it's not just that I think burning coal is bad, it's that I truly believe solar is going to be the most competitive and cost-effective way to convert energy. After all, all other forms of energy are, in a sense, from the sun. Coal is from the sun, and gas and oil is all from the sun. Why don't we just convert it directly? And then in South Africa, of course, we are a very sun-rich country, and it's better for us to do it than countries like Germany, who are also now already generating so much solar power. There are days that they have to pay consumers to use it. So it's a very exciting technology. It's also a tip, I think, for all small businesses out there that want to be more efficient, is that they should consider investing in solar energy, particularly if they use it during daytime. NPV, or net present value of solar power, is just so much better if you use it during the day when the sun shines.
The capital cost of solar equipment for individuals, for households, of people who've looked into this, it's still pretty much on the high side. The payback, fair enough, but the capital cost up front is still a little bit on the scary side. I mean, do you see those costs from a domestic usage point of view if Eskom isn't going to be a big player in the space into the future, if it still sticks to its nuclear guns, so to speak? Will we see domestic usage decrease over time?
So, Bruce, I think you're quite right. For the typical business owner out there, they don't just look at what the monthly cost of electricity is. They need to have the capital to invest in the solar panels on their roof. And clearly the winners in the space, like the company BrightBlack that I've invested in, it won't just be about who can install the best panels or the cheapest panels on the roof the most quickly. It will be those who come with a comprehensive package that also encompass financing. And I do believe that all the banks are starting to look at this and understand that you can bring a package to a company, because in essence it's secured by the fact that the price is cheaper than the reigning electricity price. So it's already positive on a monthly cash flow basis if you can either secure the finance or use your own finance to put it on the roof. So it's a very, very exciting time for solar. It's maybe partly also the explanation of why electricity usage in South Africa is now lower than it was 10 years ago. The economy has grown, maybe we've become more energy efficient, but we're also seeing more and more solar adoption. And remember, when that doesn't feed into the grid, when it's not via independent power producers, but by individuals like you and me and small businesses who generate their own electricity, that is not measured in the big statistics. So solar is actually growing much faster than the Eskom statistics suggest.
Now, you're sitting Stellenbosch, you've got your own wine farm, you've got your own wine label, Bartony, of course. With the 2016 vintage, I mean, there were some really scary numbers the other day from an international wine organisation saying global wine production under a huge amount of pressure, and South African wine production was going to be down 19% because of adverse Western Cape weather conditions. Did you have a decent year at Bartony?
Well, we had a good year. We are really looking forward to the next rating season. For some of our wines, that won't happen next year. We like to mature them, so that will be a couple of years hence. The wine industry in South Africa is a very interesting one. It's obviously the largest agricultural contributor in the Western Cape where I live. And the big challenge for South African wine is not that we need to make the product so much better. Our wine is already excellent. It's that the brand image of South African wine, particularly for exports, need to be lifted. In most blind tastings, people will equate our wines with some of the best in the world, but then when you look at the pricing, the French, for example, can ask 2 to 3 times as much for an equivalent bottle of wine or one with the equivalent type of wine rating. So our work here is in branding, and I suppose the exciting thing there is it's much easier to lift your brand than it is to lift the underlying quality of the product, which is what the wine industry has been doing for the last 10 or 15 years in South Africa. So, well, in fact, since the abolition of apartheid and the introduction of a democratic government, the wine has really, really improved. So I just want to encourage you, Bruce, if you need any encouragement, and anyone else who cares to support the wine industry, to drink just a little bit more.
Micheal Jordaan, the head of Montegray Capital, a part-time wine farmer, data distributor, educational. If he thought that life after banking was going to be relaxing, I think he bit off more than he could chew on that particular point. He's a busy guy, is Micheal Jordaan. Thank you for taking time out of that busy time, and you can get back to your wine this evening as well. More Moneymakers next time on the show. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, bye-bye.